Chapter 4: Soft Skills. Soft skills are essential to the martial artist. They're critical for success in the field, enjoyable training experiences, and continued growth. They're sometimes intangible, and they're personal. That means they're yours, and they don't transfer to other people. They play a decisive role in the development of that 360-degree martial artist. You're not the one-trick pony, not the "I'm going to do 100 punches every class" sort of person, though there is a place for that. But there is a ceiling where you have to move into the soft skills or you can't break through. Those soft skills are a united behavior of the mind, body, spirit, and intent, and the ability to be able to make those things all work together, meet one another, and build. In other words, they're more important together than they are apart. They're stronger together. They link the chain. They build a Venn diagram with you at the center. Hard skills can be explained in a simple phrase: if this, then that. If this happens, then I do that. It's a simple tab: A fits slot A world. Soft skills say it differently. They say, if this happens, now there are possibilities. We must choose the best option, given a myriad of considerations. It's more realistic in the real world, but harder to convey in the training hall. You've probably run into the idea of the Chinese words for crisis and opportunity being the same symbol. In baseball, pitchers rarely have a role on the field other than pitching the ball to the batter. Sometimes they've got to cover a base, sometimes they've got to make a play, sure, but most of their existence is to throw the ball into the catcher's glove. Pitchers also like to make sure that the batter doesn't hit the ball when they do it. That is oversimplified, of course, but for the purposes of our discussion, a shortstop has a different attitude. The shortstop brain says, stay flexible. The ball might come high, the ball might come low. The play isn't necessarily at second, it's at first. Their mind is full of soft skills. Not into baseball, you could look at it in soccer instead. You've got a player who's good at scoring, they get the ball. But then there's that other player who is the proverbial Swiss Army knife. That player that has the ability to move the ball on the field to the open player, pass it off and score as well. Sure, you need to master the fundamentals first, but at the highest level, it's about mental flexibility, soft skills. Part of that soft skill is self-awareness. There's a big element to self-awareness, to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. Self-awareness is the first step to developing soft skills. It's not an if this, then that scenario. It's an if this, then wow, where do we go from here? Kind of thing. That requires a holistic understanding of the art and a flexible, agile mind to sort, sift, and select what to do based on that knowledge. Part of that self-awareness is based on active engagement with your environment. It's seeing, observing, assessing, and getting clarity about what's happening in the world. That's a critical distinction. Assessment versus judging. Judging is if this, then that, whereas assessing is more flexible. It's participating, not drawing a hard line. It's the ability to take a breath and say, what in the world is this? You know, that's the best part of a mystery movie. You try to figure it out, make a judgment, and avoid being surprised by the twist. Every movie M. Night Shyamalan has ever made, such as The Sixth Sense, The Village, or Knock at the Cabin, has been about setting you up to make a judgment and then surprise you with a twist at the end. The extends far beyond martial arts. Words are part of soft skills, body movement, and positioning, but where you sit in a meeting and how you speak, it's all part of soft skills. Recently, Kris attended an ESPN media event for universities. He watched the host speak from an elevated platform on a set that had the cameras, lights, microphones, and everything needed for the broadcast. During the recording, there was a break, a time for, what are we going to do now? How do we set this? What would you like to do? The host continued to stand on the platform and spoke to the staff members who were on the floor. He towered a full 2 feet above them. Did he get his way? Of course he did. Did he lay down some draconian rules? No, he didn't. He knew his elevated position, both figuratively and literally, gave him the authority. He spoke eloquently and also used the arrangement of the room to get what he believed was necessary for a better show. Yes, position in the room, body language, words used, all soft skills. Could the host have bullied everyone, smacked them around until he got his way? Maybe. Probably not. But it's something we doubt he would have considered in the first place. It was time for soft skills, not physical force. Back to the if this then that idea. If you do this, then the response from me will be violent retaliation. The challenge is that in real life, this may or may not be the correct tool for the job. Consider someone approaching you holding a knife in their hand. Does it make a difference if it's a street person, mumbling incoherently, or a waiter bringing you a steak knife? Of course it does. You have to have adaptability. Dark alley versus nice restaurant. Unstable individual versus professional. You have to be able to embrace the flexibility of the moment. Teeing off on the street person might be appropriate, whereas attacking the waiter almost certainly is not. Seeing, observing, assessing, and getting clarity. These are the rules of the environment and the engagement. There's one phrase that embodies this soft skill, and it is this: a simple two-word phrase: improvise success. Let's take improvised success to the training floor, using the example of practicing a series of basic movements designed to build so-called muscle memory. The memory isn't actually in the muscle, it's in the brain, but it's a great hook to allow us to understand what we're doing. We build skill via a repetitive response. This is how a rising block looks. This is how a fist hits another person. These are the mechanics of a kick. Yeah, those things are essential. That's why we call them fundamentals. The development of soft skills is the ability to move the building blocks of our training around. For example, we can think of a chess punch as one block, and we mean structural component like a cinder block, not a chess block. To assure clarity here, we're talking building things up block by block, brick by brick. With that mindset, we can say, why can't I do this before I do that? And what we start to do is build a series of flexible movements. We get to move in a different manner. It doesn't lock us in. That is a vital part of the soft skills. So, you can scramble your movement? Let's say that you're doing a series of basic first movements from a kata, and it involves stepping forward with a head block, then a reverse punch, followed by a kick. Your developing soft skills can reverse that. You can take the middle movement and move it to the beginning. You can move anywhere you want, and if you want to complicate things, you can change the rhythm, like a musician changes the rhythm of a song. You can take longer. You can make it shorter. You can collapse it. You can expand it. It's soft. It's not necessarily right. Some interpretations of any given movement will be better than others, but it's not necessarily wrong either. It's all about adaptability. This is difficult for martial artists to express at times, because our training environment is usually one where we learn by rote. It is do this, do that, and then do this other thing, often reinforced by tradition and dogma. When we do these things well, especially in classical martial arts, we become eligible to earn our next rank. Do this, move that way, and then add this other technique on top. Congratulations! Now you're eligible for your blue belt. Don't get us wrong, that's not inherently a bad thing. It's a time-honored way of learning fundamental techniques, but that will only get you so far. The adaptability to mix and match techniques, apply applications optimally to any given scenario, to take what you learn in the training hall and apply it on the street, that all takes mental adroitness. This is the soft skills. Here's a way to practice that. Pause before you take action. That's not always appropriate, clearly, but for a drill that builds both muscle memory and mental memory simultaneously, take a pause before you respond. It's that simple. Do you want to give somebody the finger because they cut you off? Pause for a moment. Think about your goal. Was it an if this, then that? Or was it adaptability? How many times has somebody cut you off in traffic, and then later on when you're at work, You find yourself still thinking about it? I can't believe that a-hole did that. Is it really such a bad thing? Your mental dexterity allows you to reframe the incident and realize that nothing actually happened. Sure, the other guy cut you off, but there was no accident. You made it to work safely and on time, and you're able to whine about the lousy driver you encountered along the way. That game of mentally reframing helps you develop soft skills that allow you adaptability to move on to the next thing that needs to happen in your life. The same thing applies in your martial arts training. It is a simple expression of a complicated idea, and one that we should engage in so that we're not doing things by rote. Develop your soft skills, mix and match. Take the pause. Develop emotional aptitude. Be in a sense of certainty. Be clear. Have the ability to be flexible and to say, if this happens, now I have many options. Difficult, sure, but important. Takeaways. Develop soft skills for success in martial arts and life. Cultivate self-awareness through active engagement with the environment. Explore the concept of deep practice in your martial arts training.
Quotes, "A rigid mind is very sure, but often wrong. A flexible mind is generally unsure, but often right." Vonda Scaravelli. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. Now you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Bruce Lee.
The opposite of courage is conformity. Rickson Gracie.